Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackle. Tonight, we continue our series of debates in races that affect the metro area. Up tonight, Orleans Parish Civil Court Judge. That seat opened up earlier this year when Claire Jupiter passed away earlier this year. There are 4 people qualified to run. All are Democrats. All, of course, are attorneys. Civil District Court handles class action lawsuits, domestic issues, and other non-criminal matters. 4 candidates, all qualified, are here tonight. They are Omar Mason, Richard Perk, Kenneth Plaisance, and Marie Williams. We're going to start with a brief 30-second opening statement in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Mason, we begin with you. You have 30 seconds for an opening statement.
Good evening. I'm Omar Mason. I'm a lawyer with 19 years of courtroom experience. I was born in New Orleans, went to McDonough 35, and later graduated from Loyola Law. I'm raising my family here in New Orleans because I love my city and I want to see it succeed. Throughout my career, I've earned the respect and admiration of my peers and my community. I've earned a designation of super lawyer, a distinction given to only the top 5% of lawyers in the country. I'm not running for judge to simply sit on the bench. I'm running for judge so I can stand up for our community. Thank you.
Mr. Perk, same thing. You have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thank you, and good evening. Thank you to WDSU for hosting this event. I'm very excited to participate. Like Mr. Mason, I am also designated as a super lawyer, and AV rated with Martindale-Hubbell Society. I'm running because I believe there are problems with Civil District Court that we need to address, specifically the rotating seat with the domestic docket. And that's what I'd like to really discuss tonight with all of you. And thank you again for having us, and I look forward to talking.
All right, thank you. Mr. Plaisance, you're up. 30 seconds to let voters know why you feel you're the best candidate for this job.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Kenneth Plaisance. I have 28 years experience, well, 29 years experience as an attorney in the New Orleans area. I can practice in Texas and Louisiana. I can practice in the United States Supreme Court. So I can take your case all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. But with all the accolades I have, I think that I am the best candidate because of my experience and because I have fundamental fairness in my heart.
Ms. Williams, same thing. 30 seconds for you. You have an opening statement in 30 seconds.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marie Williams. I'm running for Judge, Civil District Court. I am a native New Orleanian. I was born and raised here. I've been practicing as a lawyer for 22 years, and for 29 years I've been a community activist. I have done from tort litigation. I've represented the low income. I have represented people in domestic, and I've also done personal injury cases. So I am not only one who's worked in the legal field, but one with the community. And I am a person who is for all people, and I have prepared myself to become judge. And I've been a judge, and I'm ready to take the bench. Thank you.
All right, like a fantasy football draft, we're going to go up and down the line here. So, Ms. Williams, in 30 seconds, this question is for you. All of you all have previously sought public elected office. Why is this seat so interesting for you?
This seat is interesting for me because New Orleans needs judges that have experience, that know the law. I have done domestic work for 15 years for legal aid and for low-income individuals, and this seat needs someone who knows, has done the law, not just want to be a judge. And I believe that we need people who want to serve the community, and I'm ready to serve.
Mr. Plaisance, same question. Like the other 3, you've sought public office in the past as well. In 30 seconds, why does this job interest you again for public office?
Well, again, I've been an attorney since 1989, and so I've been in the community since then. I just think that I'm the best candidate and have most experience than everyone else. I think that, again, the fundamental fairness is what I am, and I think I can bring that to the bench.
Mr. Perk, same question. You've sought elected office before as well. Why does this position interest you so much?
I have, and specifically as it relates to this position, much like the one that I ran for before. As I discussed in my opening, this is what's called the rotating seat. The rotating seat is where the most junior judge or the newly elected judge takes the domestic docket until the next judge is elected. We are at a point where in the past 22 months we have had 5 judges touch this docket, which means cases aren't moving the way that they should, and that they should be getting to an extent and to a point where people are able to get in and out of court as fast as possible. That's not happening. What I find very interesting about this is that the local rules allow the most junior judge to stay on that docket and to move those cases. That's what I'd like to do. And I believe that that's what needs to happen. We need continuity for families and for children. And of the people up here, and I have wonderful opponents in this case, but I believe that I have the most experience in domestic litigation. And I think that that's what it's going to take in this case.
Mr. Mason, same thing, 30 seconds. You've sought public office before, too.
Yes.
Why this position?
Yes, the public office that I saw before was this position, the civil district court judge, just a different division. The geographic, there's no geographic designation for divisions. But why I seek this position is because we need experienced lawyers, we need experienced judges to serve on the bench who have the vast experience in the civil arena. I have that vast experience in the civil arena. I've done plaintiff's work, I've done defense work, I've done complex litigation, class actions. I was involved in the Louisiana tobacco class action lawsuit. I've done family-related matters. I've done all types of matters on the civil bench. And we need a judge who has that continuity of experience, who can continue to serve in this capacity when it goes beyond the domestic docket.
All right, we've kept it on time so far. No bell yet, which is a good thing. Here's a 60-second answer. We'll start with you, Mr. Mason. You have 1 minute to answer this question. What makes you qualified to handle massive class action cases that could come before you if elected?
And that's a great question, and it goes back to my experience again. I started off my career doing plaintiff's class action work and complex litigation. I was actively involved in the Louisiana tobacco class action against Big Tobacco, representing smokers and former smokers in Louisiana. I've done debit insurance cases. That was more in the federal arena with multi-district litigation. So I have that background in handling, and I've also represented businesses. I've represented companies in defending lawsuits or pursuing lawsuits on behalf of my clients. So I have that vast background, particularly in those areas, and that's my specialty.
All right, Mr. Perks, same question. 60 seconds or 1 minute. What makes you qualified to handle massive class action lawsuits and cases if you're elected to this position?
Yes. Well, and currently right now I sit on a plaintiff steering committee where we represent approximately 250 litigants in a class action suit pending in pending in the Eastern District of Louisiana, now in federal court. This is the second time I've been appointed by a federal judge to sit on a plaintiff steering committee. And that's specifically because of my experience in that type of litigation. In addition to that, I have prosecuted and defended suits regarding oil issues at refineries throughout the Southeast Louisiana area. I also represent businesses as well as individuals throughout New Orleans in their general civil litigation. But to specifically answer your question, I have extensive experience, and I've been working on class action litigation now in 2 separate cases for about 8 years.
All right, Mr. Plaisance, same question. If elected, what makes you qualified to handle so many mass class action cases filed at CDC?
Well, I mean, I don't have any experience in terms of mass litigation. I've done only one. But I think that you have to have a good knowledge of the law. I think that you can do the research. You can, if it's a jury trial, you pick a jury. So in terms of what I know, I think that I know the law. I've been 28 years experience as an attorney. I've done cases all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. I used to work with the Black Organization of Police and civil service matters. So I think I can bring that to the bench. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Plaisance. Ms. Marie Williams, same question. What makes you qualified to handle mass class action cases if you're elected to the bench?
What makes me qualified is that I worked for Mr. Daniel E. Becknell. I'm sure a lot of people know him from Reserve or Laplace. I also worked on the tobacco litigation case, but actually I was appointed, I worked there for a year in Philadelphia on the tobacco litigation. I have worked on breast implant. I've worked on the anaphylactic shock in New York. I was also working on the chemical spill in Bogalusa, the Shell oil. Most of my practice when I started was doing mass tort litigation, and I traveled throughout the country or was sent by my boss, Daniel E. Becknell, to work on these cases. So I know how to file also FinFin lawsuit. I know how to file them in federal court. I know how to do the discovery. And I'm very well versed in mass tort litigation, and that's where I got my start.
We're going to start with you on this question. It's a simple yes or no answer, Ms. Williams. Did you support the president's nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court?
No, I did not.
Mr. Plaisance?
No.
Mr. Perk?
I did not.
Mr.
No.
Mason? Let's stick with that topic. After Brett Kavanaugh was nominated, confirmed, and is now sitting on the bench, judicial temperament became a big issue here. You have 1 minute to answer this question, Mr. Mason. If elected, what would your judicial temperament be?
Yes, and that's a great question. And we often talk about judicial temperament, but one thing that we have, lawyers are trained to advocate a position versus another position. That's what we're obligated to do, to represent our clients zealously. However, as a jurist, as a judge, you have to be able to have that unique ability to set aside that advocacy. You have to be neutral. You have to be impartial. So I have the judicial temperament exhibited through my practice. The only way you can determine a person's judicial temperament is to know that person. And I know, and people know me who practice with me on the same side of me or against me. I have the respect of my colleagues in the legal community. I won the judicial poll for the lawyers in New Orleans for this particular race as I'm the trusted person to serve on this docket because of my integrity and because of my judicial temperament.
All right, 1 minute, same question, Mr. Perk. With judicial temperament being such a big issue, what would your judicial temperament be if you're elected to this position?
And thank you. I think it's an interesting question. I think that judicial temperament in and of itself is critical. Very often when you have litigants appearing before the court, you have to remember as a judge, as a lawyer, that while we do this day in and day out, this is the worst day of this person's life. They are appearing to deal with custody matters. They are coming to deal with issues regarding their doctors, their lawyers. For personal injury, we may be dealing with a catastrophic loss of a family member. So it is part of the judicial temperament is realizing that we're dealing with individuals and we are not dealing with just numbers. In addition to that, what I do is I'm also a mediator. I'm qualified to do civil law mediation in the state of Louisiana, and I've done that for quite some time. And it is the ability to step back and then not have a dog in the hunt. And what you're trying to do is just hear everyone's story, because everyone has one, and trying to do your best to be, while being neutral, being able to find the truth in the middle.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perk. Mr. Plaisance, same question. If elected, what would your judicial temperament be at Civil District Court? 60 seconds to answer that question.
Okay. I guess the buzzword is fundamental fairness. It's fairness between the parties. My temperament has always been that fairness, integrity, trustworthy, but listening to the parties. Listen to the briefs that the parties come in there with. Don't take any sides. Research it, and then make a decision from there.
All right, same question, Ms. Williams. 60 seconds. If elected, how would you describe your judicial temperament?
My judicial temperament would basically be that of me being a community activist. I have been a person who have worked with all types of people, from rich to poor, from homeless to domestic violence, elderly, and being the only woman in this race, I will say this. I have felt being the only woman in this race, and so it puzzles me how some of my opponents can say that they have the judicial temperament, when I think that if you treat a woman a certain way, or if you are trying to intimidate them, how can you have judicial temperament and say you want to be a judge on the bench? That is not a person who should be judicial or have fairness. I'm fair. I will be fair to women, men, everyone. And so my background as a community activist shows that I will be fair and impartial to everyone in this city. I'm for the people.
Quickly, 30 seconds to answer this question. The junior member of Civil District Court helps handle domestic and family court cases. In 30 seconds, Ms. Williams, what makes you qualified to do that?
What makes me qualified, because out of all my opponents, no matter what they say, I'm the only one who has worked with legal aid. I've been the only attorney that worked with the Pro Bono Project. I handled cases. We had 1,900 cases when I left the office. 1,900 cases where people did not have an attorney. I wrote grants for juvenile court, I worked hard doing a lot of domestic cases for 15 years for low-income individuals. So I'm the only one who has really been in the trenches and worked in legal aid in domestic.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Mr. Plaisance, 30 seconds. What makes you qualified to handle the domestic and family court docket at CDC?
Well, I've practiced in domestic cases, divorces, civil, the child support and visitation cases. I've done extensive research on family law matters, in particular visitation, child support, and so forth. I'm cited in some of the cases in family law, so that makes me a good candidate.
Thank you. Mr. Perk, same question, 30 seconds. What makes you qualified to handle and to help out with the domestic and family court cases if elected?
Yes, and like I mentioned before, about 60% of my practice is domestic litigation. That is what I do day in and day out. In addition to that, I have been appointed by the court to represent low-income individuals or persons that can't pay at all. Currently, I represent 2 children in separate matters that I've been appointed by the court in order to be their representative, the child's representative, because they need a voice as well. I am a civil law mediator. I'm appointed by the court to hear cases regarding child custody. And in this race, I am the only one who has agreed to stay for a period of 2 years or longer to clear that docket.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Perk. Mr. Mason, same question in 30 seconds. If elected, what makes you qualified to handle these family court and domestic matters?
Yes, and thank you. In my 19 years of experience in practicing law, I've done a wide variety of matters, including family matters. I've touched on those. I was in family court last week for a divorce case. So I've done all those types of matters. I'm a very competent, more than competent attorney. But one thing that I want to say is family courts deal with real life situations. And in a real life situation, I've been married for 17 years to my lovely wife, and I have 2 beautiful daughters that I'm raising. So I'm a parent of over 12 years and a husband for almost 17 years. So I know the family dynamics to handle the family court docket.
Quickly, before we get to closing statements here, here's another yes or no question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Mason, and go right down the line here. When you all are on the ballot in November, there's another big ballot issue coming up. Yes or no, are you supportive or against unanimous jury verdicts in Louisiana?
I'm supportive of unanimous jury verdicts.
Very supportive.
Mr. Plaisance?
Yes, supportive.
Ms. Williams?
I'm supportive.
All right, since we started with Mr. Mason for opening statements, Ms. Williams, we're going to start with you for this one. You have 30 seconds to make a closing statement and let people watching know why you feel you're the best candidate for this job at Civil District Court.
I'm the best candidate because out of all of my opponents, I have been the only one that have practiced. I have litigated not just one jury trial, but for weeks. And I have also worked many years, 15 years, doing legal aid work for low-income people, working for the Pro Bono Project. I have been, I've been cited. I've been a top super lawyer. I've been honored by City Business, by the Veterans, U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Currently, I am also versed in many legal activities.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Mr. Plaisance, 30 seconds to make a closing remark.
Yes, again, it's 29 years experience as an attorney. I can practice in the United States Supreme Court. Fundamental fairness is what's in my heart. And so that's what you want in a judge, fundamental fairness.
All right, Mr. Perk, same thing. 30 seconds to let viewers know why you feel you're the best candidate for this judgeship at CDC.
Yes, and thank you so much for having us here tonight. I believe that I'm the best candidate because in addition to the domestic litigation that I do, I also have extensive experience within civil district court, as well as I have litigated in both Louisiana, Texas, Massachusetts. I've represented parents and I've represented families in the marriage equality case in the Eastern District of Louisiana, and we took that to the Fifth Circuit and then took writs to the United States Supreme Court. I believe that my experience makes me the best candidate.
All right, Mr. Mason, we wrap up with you 30 seconds for a closing statement to let people know why you feel you're the best candidate for this job.
Yes, and thank you. Anytime we turn on the news, we're reminded of the serious times that we live in. Unnecessary division, hatred, inequality, lack of fairness. The sad truth is that we've been here way too many times before. And in each moment of trial or consequence for our community, we've relied upon strong judges to interpret the law with fairness. As judge, I promise to be that judge who will treat everyone with the utmost respect. I'll run a professional and efficient court, and I will work tirelessly every single day to help ensure that justice for all is a reality for all. I'm Omar Mason, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, thank you very much. These are your candidates for Civil District Court Judge in Orleans Parish: Omar Mason, Richard Perk, Kenneth Plaisance, Marie Williams. We thank you for your time.